Have you ever been in a room full of people and someone walks in through the door, male, female, it doesn't matter. They've got a charisma, they've got a style, they've got an authority that just commands respect, and yet they haven't even said a word? Well, this is that person in the form of a motorcycle. This is the 2024-25 BMW R12nineT. There's a mouthful. I'm Steve, and welcome to Stand Up Moto. If you're a new viewer, welcome. If you're a return viewer, welcome back. And if you are a new viewer and motorcycles and motorbikes are your thing, consider hitting the subscribe button and you can have a look at past reviews that I've done, and of course be notified as I post new reviews. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the Cary Grant, Grace Kelly thing about in the thumbnail for this video, yeah? Well, Grace Kelly was classy and beautiful. Cary Grant was powerful with this debonair demeanour. That's this bike, and hopefully by the end of the video you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Oh, and a big shout out to Moto Adelaide here in South Australia for letting me spend some quality time with this bike. So we'll start with pricing. The R12nineT comes in at around 25 to 30,000 Australian dollars, depending on options, etc. Of course, it's not cheap. Mind you, there is nothing cheap about this bike either. And depending on where you are in the world, just Google your currency to AUD and that will give you a ballpark figure of what it costs. But look, I guess let's get stuck into the review, and we'll start with this beautiful big 1200cc Boxer. At the heart of the R12 is a 4-stroke, 2-cylinder, horizontally opposed Boxer. So one cylinder going either side, like so. 2 camshafts, it's got 4 valves per cylinder, and if you're the sort of person that loves working on their own bikes, nice and simple to get to. You're not ripping everything apart to get rocker covers off and all that sort of thing. 1,170 cc's, if you still talk cubic inches, as some of the Harley bikes still are. 71.5 cubic, or 71.4 cubic inches. 12-to-1 compression ratio, so you are running premium unleaded. It's air cooled. You can see the cooling fins here on the heads and the cylinders. Well, air and oil. You can see the little radiator mounted up the front. They've put nice little plastic caps on the end of it. Just neatens the cosmetics of it up. Electronic fuel injection. They've altered that too. That used to go in, and I notice it comes back more on an angle. I guess that's to do, on the plenum setup there, I guess that's to do with airflow, etc. Wet sump motor, electric start, of course. 109 horsepower. I mean, any bike over 100 horsepower, it's a lot of horsepower in a motorcycle. This is 109, and you can feel every one of those horsepower. Gee, it's good. 115 newton meters of torque, which is a lot of torque. In fact, I noticed looking at the ratios that 5th and 6th gear are both overdrives. Okay, 0 to 100 with traction control on. And I have to say, I love this quick shifter. Round on the port side now, you can see there's the gear lever there, nice short little stubby gear lever there. Absolutely beautiful to change gears. 6-speed box. As I said before, that the top 2 are overdrives, 5th and 6th. Top gear, 6th gear, is 0.848. So it's really not working at all on the freeway, as you would expect. Now you can see in this clip here, I'm sitting along just over 110 kilometers per hour. That's just shy of 70 mile an hour in top gear. It's doing about 3,800 RPM. And with this quick shifter, if you look at that right-hand dial, you can see number 6 on the bottom there. That's top gear. What I'm going to do is, without altering the throttle, kick it down to 5th gear, down to 4th. You can see the revs go up, the speed stays the same. I'm not altering the throttle or using the clutch. Back up into top gear. All done with that quick shifter. It is just seamless. Now I know I prattle on about these sort of things, but have a look here at the side stand. There's the little switch for if your side stands down. But look at the way the side stand is mounted. It's not just a bolt shoved through. There's nice little brass bushings in here on the side stand bolt. That is neat and tidy. Single plate dry clutch. So the same as a motor car would have, single plate dry clutch. Now you would know if you've watched my previous videos that I put a big emphasis on brakes. And I'll call them out if I don't think they're up to the task on the particular bike that I'm testing. Every BMW that I've reviewed has had exceptional braking, and this one is no different. And without sounding too dramatic, I mean, good brakes, good accurate braking, it could be the difference between life and death. This bike's got BMW's Motorrad Pro ABS, and I think it's probably one of the smoothest ABS systems that I've reviewed. Twin 310mm rotors, what's that, about 12 and a bit inches, I guess. 4-piston monoblock radial calipers, as you can see in the picture, sourced from Brembo. Probably as good as you're going to get on a street bike. Actually, while we're at the front rim, a 350/17 cast aluminium running a 120/70 ZR17 Continental tyre. And I've got a bit of footage actually of Adam Childs putting an R12nineT through its paces around Cadwell Park in the UK. These Continentals actually surprised me. Rear brakes, a 265mm rotor. That's about 10, I guess, 10 and a bit inches. Yeah, roughly. 2-piston BMW floating caliper. Rear rim is a 550/17, once again cast aluminium, running a 180/55 ZR17, and yeah, of course, the Continental. You could probably see there I had the cruise control set at 100, and that's hitting front and rear brake at the same time. Yeah, exceptional braking, and that ABS Pro even has the lean angle sensors, so you can hit the brakes even while you're cornering. Now what we'll do is have a look at the suspension and the frame, and then we'll have a look at it on the track at Cadwell. Tubular steel trellis type, what would you call it, space frame, I suppose. Looks like the rear end bolts on separately. The motor itself is stressed. It forms part of the frame. Nice, rigid, certainly performs well on the track. Front forks, upside down, 45mm, spring preload, adjustable rebound and compression dampening with about 120mm of travel. That's 4 3/4 inches. In fact, both front and rear have got that same 4 3/4 inches of travel. The rear suspension cast aluminium, single swing arm with BMW's, what do they call that, paralever on the swing arm. It's on this side too. It's on the right hand side of the bike. Central spring down in here. You can see the spring up in there. It's got a preload adjustment up here that you can get to while you're actually riding if you want. Adjustable rebound dampening down here. That little red circle has got a plus and minus, probably not picking up in the shot, but yeah, nice, good, easy to get to. Now I'm going to show you this bit of footage I was talking about where Adam Child runs one of these R12nineTs around the track in Cadwell Park. That's in the UK, in Lincolnshire, about 5 miles south of Louth. Terrific track. It's got that famous hump in it where if you've got enough power and speed, you can pull it onto the rear wheel, as Adam does in this video. In fact, I'll put the link to Adam's video in the description of this video if you want to have a look at his whole day at the track on the R12nineT. Adam's riding the, what they call the 719 option. So that's the full brushed aluminium look. It's got the red frame, bar end mirrors, a whole lot of milled machine bits. The rear seat cowling that's on this one that you can see in the picture, that's standard on the 719 option. The bike that I'm reviewing has got that cowl on it, but it is an option on the bike I'm using. But anyway, have a look at this video. Have a look at how Adam pulls it around the track. He's a good bloke, didn't mind me using this video, and he knows how to steer a bike. But anyway, let's have a look. You can see the way those standard Continentals started to ball up nicely on the edges. Yeah, look, pretty impressive, and it's worth the watch to have a look at just how hard Adam pushed these tyres. Very respectable. I really think, I'm remembering this bike is not advertised as a track bike. That bike was at Cadwell in complete standard form. Adam's video goes for about 15 minutes. Well worth the watch if you're interested in one of these. Anyhow, let's have a bit of a closer look at a few of the features of this little BMW. Wet weight, full of fuel, full of oil, you're ready to go. 220 kilos, that's about 485, 86 pounds. This is not a heavy bike, and when you're riding it and moving it around, it doesn't even feel like it's 220 kilos. I mean, this is so simple to move around. I'm on a horrible marbly surface here, and look at that, both feet flat on the ground. I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm 5'10", but I'm longer in the body, shorter in the legs, but I can sit here with both feet perfectly flat. I feel confident to rock the bike around. You never feel like it's going to get the better of you and fall over. It is a really nice place to be. So under the, well, I was going to say the front seat, but there is only one seat on this bike. That just pops off nice and simple like so. A couple of fuses here. There's really no storage space on this bike at all. That's why it's got that little tank bag on there, I guess. What have you got there? Probably the air filter cover, I would imagine. 4 Torx fittings, and your little toolkit there has got the Torx end on it. You will need, if you're doing your own maintenance, you'll need to buy a Torx kit. Nice, and I mean, they're pretty cheap. Any auto accessory shop has got them, because this only fits certain ones like the air filter cover and a couple of minor ones. That is your receptor there for the, or the ring antenna, I guess you'd call it, for your keyless fob that you leave in your pocket. Press the button, that's the key that works the steering lock, and of course the fuel cap. Apart from that, that just stays in your pocket. But nice and simple. You'll notice the back of the tank here is hinged, and that's because what's missing out of this picture? The battery. The battery is mounted here underneath the tank itself. So 2 Torx fittings at the front. The tank hinges up and back. You've got those click release fuel lines, not as in quick, as in click release fuel lines. Click, undo, tank hinges back. That gives you access to your battery. You wouldn't need to be doing that too often, would you? But anyway, that's there. But yeah, nice and simple. I love the look of this exhaust system. 2 upswept pipes. In fact, we haven't done a sound check. We'll have to do that in a sec. But it just looks so neat and tidy. Stainless fittings, as you can see. And have a look, once again, not just a couple of cheap washers holding through a rubber. They are nice cast fittings with a stainless steel bolt, rubber washers behind them, onto a casting that comes down. Not welded to the exhaust, they're bolted to the exhaust itself. So what's it sound like? Have a look at the way the bike moves. It rocks across with that flywheel effect of the Boxer. I love that. I don't know how well this camera shot shows it, but that machined aluminium finish that's inside on these powder coated wheels, it just looks lovely. I referred to this bike a little while ago as a small BMW, and that's just what it is. It's all motor. It is so agile and so maneuverable. One of the things I dearly love about riding this bike is the simplicity when you get up here in the cockpit.
This is just so simple. It's a keyless ride. You have a fob, so the same as you would with your car. Leave your fob, key fob, F-O-B, in your pocket. There is the ignition switch. Press that and the instrument panel comes alive. This is your mode button. You've got 3 modes: rain, road, or dynamic. That's it. Nothing else to do on this side. That all comes up on the panel. I'll show you that. And of course your stop button and start. Staying with the simplicity side of things, and I know this looks a little bit complicated at first, but it's really not. You've got your cruise control up on the top. That's off, that's on. I just leave the cruise on the whole time. Then you just bring your thumb up, beautiful BMW Cruise, press the set button and resume, and you can go up and down a kilometre or 2.
Using the BMW Cruise is as simple as that. Just push the button on the left side. There's no altering of the throttle. You don't have to look for it because it's right on top of the bar to cancel. So the cruise is set there. Just roll the throttle forward or touch either of the brakes or the clutch.
You might be able to see adjustable levers, by the way. I don't know if I pointed that out. On both the clutch and the brake. Heated grips here. Beautiful BMW heated grips. And the cruise control. If you've never used BMW cruise control, it's an absolute treat. Hazard lights on that one. This one you can turn off your traction control if you need to. I don't know why you'd be turning it off on this style of bike. But anyway, you can knock off the traction control there. This one here scrolls through on the instrument panel through your trip meters, your clock, miles to the gallon or litres per 100 and that type of thing. It's really simple. You've still got the whiz wheel here, of course, if you want to set up custom settings within the dash itself, but I've just left it as I got it. It's perfect. I have played with the rain, road and dynamic on the other lever. Indicators here, self-cancelling, of course, which we love. Most new bikes now have got self-cancelling indicators. Horn down the bottom there. Hydraulic clutch, you can see the reservoir up here for the clutch. It is a beautiful, sweet, light clutch. Wonderful. So I pushed the ignition switch. That was that little button on top, remembering that the key fob is in your pocket. The gauges do their little whizzy thing, whatever they're doing. Motred comes up. Here we are here. They're the 3 modes. Now you remember we were pushing the mode switch. It's in dynamic now. I push it, then it goes to rain. That softens the throttle. Bring it up here. There's road. Now that's what I have spent most of my time in. If you were looking at these gauges, I guess, when we're going along. Tacho, right through, 8.5 red line. You don't need this bike to be anywhere near there. 6 to 7 at max, it works beautifully. Over on the left-hand side, you can see here, you've got your ABS light, traction light. There's your neutral light here. Where? There's your temperature gauge down there. Now that button that I said you just scroll through, I'll push it. Front and rear tyre pressure sensors. Always a great thing when you're traveling and you're loaded up on different terrains. You don't want to go running a low pressure and then popping a bead off of the tubeless tyres. Press it again. There's your battery voltage. It's cold because the bike hasn't been running. 61 kilometre an hour average. Gee, I'm a good boy, aren't I? Litres per 100, 5.4. Probably not telling the true story because I had it sort of sitting revving and carrying on before. Trip meter 1, trip meter 2. Overall kilometres, setup. So if you want to customise the setup as to do with when your traction control is on and off, you can do all that. I've just left it standard. And there's the time, 11:07. If you hold in that other button I said that turns things off, that light has stopped flashing now, so it tells you that the traction control is off. So if you want to do wheelies and slides and all that sort of stuff, you can do that. I wouldn't bother on this bike. It's not that style of bike, but it'll do it. In fact, it does do it. So I've been told. If I just angle that camera down a bit, you can see the adjustment there for the front suspension for your preload. It's actually written on there too, which is nice. Plus, I just dropped my biro. Plus, -1. You can see your rebound over here, which is nice, easy, simple to adjust. I think once
in the city, as you would imagine, for a bike of this physical size, it is very easy to manage. There's a police car there. I'll just sneak down the side of it. Must make sure I behave myself. Actually, I always behave myself when I'm riding a motorcycle. Oh, what was that noise? I think I just heard someone at Black Hill choking on their coffee. But as I say, physically, this is not a big bike. It's got mountains of power, but it's very agile. It comes in, as we said, at about that 220 kilo mark. It's got a good steering head angle, so it's easy to turn in and around and maneuver without really any dramas at all. And when I talk about maneuverability, I mean parking the bike, getting it in and out of tight spaces, different cambers on the road, different surfaces. Did you ride the bike in and then you have to back it out, wheel it out? Yes, you can, quite simply actually, as it would be if you were using the R12 on a daily basis. And just so as you know, it's not all roses making these reviews. I had to park it at my favourite Malaysian restaurant in Adelaide City on one day. Actually, there I am, deep in thought about the bike. And of course, multiple coffee shops over several days, but I am happy to say it passed with flying colours. It's extremely easy to park and also extremely fuel efficient. This is a big bike, big motor in a small bike using very low revs in and around the city. I spent pretty well a whole day riding it around town and it was very, very fuel efficient. Nice little steering damper fitted down under the front or behind the forks here. And something I just wanted to point out, and I know I'm sounding like a BMW fanboy here, it's not that, it's just that I appreciate attention to detail and design. Have a look at the front mudguard, or if you're in the US, I guess you call it a fender on the front. Have a look at the mounting system. It's not just bolted onto a couple of brackets or screwed. It's a separate casting that comes up. It also doubles, I guess, as a protector for the shaft on the inverted forks. But have a look at that. That's just so neat. This one has been made into the single seat version, so it's got this little rear cowl on here which looks fantastic. Of course, you lose the rear seat. It's not just covering the seat, it replaces the seat because it comes with a two-seater. But how good does that look in the brushed aluminium? As I mentioned before, there's very little storage on this bike. This one has the little givey top box on it, which clicks onto the tank ring. Pull that little red lever, off it comes. Flick up the cap. Now the key fob has got a flick out key in it, so it's a locking cap. Back it goes. There's a little annoying baffle down in there too if you're trying to fill it fast. But look, nice and simple. 16 litre capacity. That's about 4.25 US gallons. That should give you a little over 300 kilometres, or a bit shy of a couple of 100 miles. I guess that depends on how you ride it. It'd be interesting to get a little bit of feedback from owners in the comments on their range. There's just so much more I could say about this bike, but a video that runs for 3 hours would probably be too long. What I will say is this bike from front to back is a real gem. LED lighting all around, simple to operate controls. It even has an oil window to check your oil level, and as you know, that's one of my favourite things for ease of operation. Park it somewhere and it commands respect. And as you saw in the video, it can be a real wolf in sheep's clothing if you want it to be. Or an easy to manage Sunday coffee shop cruiser. It's packed with all the modern tech to keep you safe, but it's not overwhelming to operate like some bikes. The R12nineT is every bit the retro roadster it's meant to be. It's the Cary Grant and Grace Kelly of motorcycles. It really is a class act.